He was a bright spot in a lot of people's day, and he always, would say hello and goodbye. We all do that, good manners, but he really meant it when he would greet you.
Something I really loved about Steve was his, how he shared his faith, how he was very proud of that, and how he really believed strongly. I really admired that.
He was so helpful to patrons, concerned about their needs, offered them help. So there'll never be another Steve Jones to work for Helen Hall Library.
He was always very giving of himself, and I remember that vividly. I always remember his cheerfulness no matter what was going on. He always thought of others rather than himself, even though he had so much going on in his life that might have been unfortunate. He didn't let that stop him, and that's a great example to all of us.
Steve was the best ambassador that Helen Hall Library could ever have. And he had a smile and a hug and something kind to say to everybody that walked in the door.
I had the privilege of working with Steve for many years. He was a very giving, loving person. He loved being in the Sunshine Kids. That was a huge part of his life. And, he was a very dedicated, hard worker, and I'm going to miss him greatly.
Anytime I ran into Steve, he was always giving, and I would talk to people and they'd tell me about how he gave to them. It was in his heart. He loved to give and share his wonderful smile, which is another way of giving to people. People strive to have their cup half full. Steve's was always overflowing with joy, happiness.
He declined a summer reading t-shirt because the library needed the money for other things, or the way that every time he went in the break room, he would reach around the front of the door and put the code in so that the next person would have an easier time getting in. And just all the little things that Steve was always thinking up to do to support the library, to support the staff, and to support the city.
He loved to talk to people. He loved the community, he loved the library. People purchase, earphones to listen on their computer upstairs. Anybody that he would notice that needed one, he would make it a point to go out of his way, out of his own pocket, to pay for them for people. Just one of many little, kindnesses that he did.
He was a very generous person. He shared himself, he shared his time, he shared stories.
I wanted to share a quote that I received from Mr. Bo Bass, our assistant city manager, on the morning we returned to work after learning the sad news. And that's a quote from Ray Bradbury that says, "The world was bankrupted of 10 million fine actions the night he passed on." And I think that's a really wonderful way to remember Steve. We'll miss you, Steve.
We will miss you, Steve.
We'll miss you, Steve.
We'll miss you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to miss you.
We will miss you, Steve.
We will miss you, Steve.
We'll miss you very much, Steve. It was a great pleasure to know you.
We'll miss you, Steve, very much.
Steve, we will so miss you in this community.